Hello, and welcome to Under 1000. My name's Thomas Flower, and each episode I'll read you a new piece of flash fiction. All of the stories are 1000 words or less. Today, I'll be reading Life After. White walls. A pile of old magazines scattered on a table. Sets of chairs in matching faded brown. And, as she slowly regained consciousness, Doreen could hear the sounds of soothing music coming from a tinny set of speakers behind her head. It was a setting as familiar to her as her own home, but she was unsure why she would have woken up here of all places. She tried to rise from the chair, but noticed how groggy and disorientated she felt, and thought better of it. "Oh, you're up. Good to see you're finally with us." The stranger next to her smiled, dropping her attention from the magazine she held to focus on Doreen instead. Doreen tried to compose herself as best she could, then turned to face the woman sitting next to her. "Sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but who are you? And where are we? Don't remember being in this waiting room before. I can't remember what happened after." "Allison." "Excuse me? I don't know what you..." "I'm Allison. They sent me here to greet you and to help explain everything to you once you finally woke up." Doreen sighed deeply, feeling only more confused with each word Allison uttered. "I don't understand," she muttered in a quiet and defeated tone, before raising her voice to ask again. "Where are we? What are we doing here? Can you please tell me what's going on? I wasn't in a waiting room before, I'm sure of it." "Well," Allison breathed in deeply, gearing up for a long explanation. "This place is kind of like an
Can Doreen McPherson please come to reception? Doreen McPherson to reception."
A voice suddenly rang out across a hidden tannoy, interrupting both women's thoughts. "Oh," said Allison, a little more quietly. I guess they want you straight away. Well, don't worry, I'll come with you. You can find out where you are for yourself." Doreen picked herself up carefully from the faded brown chair, standing cautiously, unsure if she was about to topple straight back down. Allison leaned in, offering Doreen a shoulder. Together, they made their way to the next room. The walls were just as white, the seats just as off-colour and frayed. The only difference between the rooms was a large wooden reception desk standing in front of the doorway. As Doreen focused her attention towards it, she could see a man smiling at her from behind the counter. He seemed in no rush to begin proceedings, despite his announcement earlier. In fact, he waited patiently for her to make her way slowly to the desk before beginning his prepared speech. "Hello, Doreen, and welcome. I understand that Allison has been greeting you and filling you in." "Well, trying to. No thanks to you," Doreen thought, before mentally reprimanding herself for being so mean-spirited. "So, I take it you already know why you're here," the man continued. "Would you like any help processing your grief?" This comment struck Doreen as particularly odd. She could not understand what was meant by it, nor even what it might be intended to mean. Cautiously, she replied, "My grief? I'm sorry, but I don't think I quite understand. My grief over what?" The man looked sheepish suddenly, realizing only too late that he would have to be the one to break the bad news. Doreen and Allison could both see the cogs running in his head, trying to determine what to do next. But only Allison could guess at the words he must be grasping for. Finally, he tentatively offered, "Your grief for yourself." This comment struck Doreen as even more obtuse than the last. Beginning to lose her patience, she hit back with an indignant, "Why would I be grieving my—" And then it struck her. She realized what he must mean. She realized why Allison had been trying so hard to smile kindly at her ever since she had awoken. She realized why she had arrived somewhere at once so familiar and so alien to her. She realized why she had been knocked out, why she had been awoken, and why, most importantly of all, she had no memory of what had happened directly before she had found herself here. And, as she realized, a tiny tear fell from one eye, and she began to understand why she would need to grieve for herself. In a hushed tone, she tried to put into words these sudden realizations. The words barely seemed to come at all. "So, are you saying that that we're all—" "Yes, Doreen," the man at the counter said gently. "You find yourself now in a community made of, for, and by people like us. Those who are no longer elsewhere congregate here, and we take care of them." Suddenly, Doreen was scared. After the understanding of her new position came the terror of what it meant in pragmatic terms. Shaking slightly, she turned to ask another question of the man at reception. "So, what happens now? What becomes of me? And what happens to all those people I've left behind back there?" The man smiled, recognizing the fear that he and all who had passed through here had once displayed, and knowing also that what was waiting after this would wash it all away. "You'll see them eventually, Doreen. In the meantime, you can always see how they're doing when you want to. But most importantly of all, you have a new life to begin, here in this community of like-minded souls. It's scary, I know, but I promise things will feel better soon." And with that, the receptionist took the keys from his desk and opened the large set of double doors to his left. Smiling at her once more, he ushered Doreen through, ready to introduce her to the great beyond that awaited. Thank you for listening to Under 1000. I'm your host, Thomas Flower. To follow the show online, look for Under 1000 Pod on Twitter or Facebook, or check out the website at under1000pod.com. If you'd like to support the show on Patreon, go to patreon.com/under1000pod, where you can sign up to read each month's stories in advance, as well as to have a thank you be read during these credits. The theme music is an instrumental version of In Between Days by Nick Tate and the Sharks. To hear the full song and more from the same EP, go to Nick Tate, NICTATE, and thesharks.bandcamp.com, or search for them on your favourite streaming platform. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and that you'll join me again next time for some more super short fiction.